Good day everyone and welcome to another episode of Civ 7 Overexplained. Today we're going to be doing the first 30 turns as Pachacuti of the Inca. And how am I playing as the Inca in antiquity, you might ask? Well, thanks to Firaxis, I've been given access to continue capturing content from the workshop build while development continues on the Test of Time update that's releasing soon. And as a result, I can now play as any Civ in antiquity, and I'm no longer also required to switch my Civ on age transition, which is very cool. Anyway, let's get into it and take a look at our start here. So let's swap over to the settler lens. You can see we've got plenty of fresh water around. Now the main consideration as Pachacuti, obviously, we are really good at working mountains. So we can work mountain tiles from the get-go from antiquity. And because we're the Inca, we also get +1 food and +1 production on mountain terrain. Which means mountains won't actually be that bad at all things considered. Now, in terms of our actual start, we're looking at the resources now. Pretty bad, pretty rough. Wine is excellent. Wine is probably one of the best resources you can find early, although really what we want is production, and incense is okay. It scales pretty well later because it's a percentage bonus, 10% science, but early game it's pretty horrendous, and that's kind of all we can see right now. Now, in terms of where we're actually going to settle, you can see there's a pretty decent spot here for a 3 adjacency culture district. Now, culture is going to be our sort of wheelhouse as Pachacuti of the Inca, just because we'll have so many mountains around, which is good. You can see we do have quite a few mountains. We're also playing on the new map in this game, Fractal Continents, I believe it's called. So it's quite random. But I think looking around, we have some floodplains over here, which are alright. We'll turn on our yields to make it slightly easier just to start with. Now, we are next to a volcano. I don't typically like putting districts, particularly expensive districts, next to a volcano, but our city centre is totally fine. We probably won't put any building in the city centre for a while, and the palace can't be destroyed. So, not too concerned about this volcano, and it will make all these tiles better around us in the very early game. I think we're actually fine to settle in place here. I don't see a reason to move to the floodplains. That'll delay our settlement. The food tiles up here are nice, but there's quite a few good production tiles down here. Tropical gives a lot of science early game, which is nice as well. And you can see there's a lot of happiness in the appeal over here as well. Quite an appealing area up here. Not so much down here, but production is a lot better than happiness. So I think we're happy to settle in place. So there's our capital of Cusco. Probably horribly mispronounced. As for our first starting unit here, so it's always free, or it costs 1 production rather, and you get a scout or a warrior. Now, in 99.9% of cases, possibly 100, I would say start with the scout. Information and early game scouting is super valuable in Civ 7, as with any Civ game really. I can't stress it enough. We're probably going to move away from these mountains. It's quite hard to scout around mountains because you can't see through them. That includes your search ability down here, which we'll probably talk about in next turn. Now we have our tech tree here. So every turn that you're producing science and culture and gold and happiness, all these resources up here, you produce them every turn, and you can use those resources to work your way down the tech tree. These will unlock various buildings, various units, various buffs, all sorts of things as you unlock these technologies. Now, I said we wanted to focus on culture, and masonry down here is where we get our monument, which provides culture for each adjacent mountainous terrain. It's going to be really important for us. And to be honest, looking at the start, we're not on the coast, so sailing isn't that important, which is where you would get, a boat, a production building for your coastal tiles, as well as you can embark onto coastal terrain. None of that's going to be very useful for us here, considering we are completely landlocked as far as we can see. As for animal husbandry, it leads into masonry, which is where we're going to go, I think. Pottery leads into writing, and considering we have very few resources here, I can see we have some wool up here, which is nice, although out of range. You can only reach up to 3 tiles away from a city centre. I'm not seeing any good spots to put down a library, so masonry is a pretty obvious choice here. I'm going to queue that up, and we'll hit next turn. Going to move our scout again, and we're going to move 1 tile. Well, this is a great example. So our scout can move 2 tiles at a time. So a little tip here in the early game when you are scouting is that if you move, whenever you get one of these wreckages, whenever you get one of these points of interest, goody huts, they've been called in previous games. These are early game one-off bonuses that you can get scattered around the map. And this is why it's so important to get an early game scout. When you move over one of these, it ends your turn immediately. So if we moved here, for example, we would get closer to this point of interest. But we'd have to end our turn anyway. We'd only move one tile. So what we can do instead of that is we're 2 tiles away. So let's use our last remaining movement to do a search. This lets us see a lot further, and it reveals points of interest even further away than we can see. So we can reveal up to 3 tiles away, but we can see points of interest up to 6 tiles away, which is very, very useful for the early game. Great way to be able to beeline straight to these bonuses. Really, really important. Now, next turn, we're still going to be able to get to this site, but we've seen all this terrain in addition. Just something to keep in mind, if you're going to be able to reach these discoveries, which I just looked up what they're called, if you're going to be able to reach these discoveries the next turn anyway, then use your remaining movement to do a search. It doesn't cost you anything, and there's no cooldown on search, so just use it whenever you can. Now, in terms of our first growth event here, we've gotten enough food in our capital to be able to grow, so we can claim a tile for our citizens to work. And to be honest, there's not much choice here. I think we're going to have to go down towards this wine. Now again, it's very little, wine doesn't give you any production, which is really what you want in the early game mostly. Production is absolutely king, particularly early game, but for most of the game, to be honest. But wine is still very, very good when you're in a celebration. Plus 5 culture is an enormous amount of culture. You can see here we're only making 10 to start with. So that's a 50% culture gain while you're celebrating. We'll talk about celebrations in a bit, but definitely worth getting this wine early. It does also give you +2 happiness in the capital, so it's not entirely worthless when you're not celebrating. And we'll hit next turn. On to turn 4. This is the new advisor counter. You can see it's all work in progress, so take what you're seeing here with a grain of salt, but we won't worry about advisors for now. We're a little bit more advanced than that. So you can move over this discovery, and we get 2 options. You always get 2 options. You can either get an archer for 50 gold, or we can get 30 science. Now, I would have loved to have gotten this archer. I would have absolutely paid 50 gold for an archer in the early game, considering you don't unlock archers until bronze working, which is quite deep into the tech tree and very expensive as well. 50 gold would be an absolute steal to get this early. However, we can't. We only have 15 gold up here in our treasury, so we'll take the science. And we'll hit next turn. So our second scout will be finished production in 1 turn, and we'll also get another growth event in 1 turn. So for the meantime, all we can do is keep moving the scout around, and we'll take one move forward here and do another scout. And you can see this one's quite far away, so I'll probably send the scout from the capital to go get this one. This is also quite far away, but I'll likely move towards that. Okay, so a few interesting things to note here that just happened. This discovery was taken, so we know there's another player up here. So each player can only claim these, once, or rather, the first player to get to the discovery claims it for themselves, which again is why scouts are so important in the early game, because if you're late to get these, then they'll get taken, and those bonuses early game are really, really valuable. So we won't worry about going up this direction. The only thing that'll do is enable us to meet whoever's up here. I don't think there's really much reason to do that yet. So we're going to move over to the right here. We generally want to try and scout around our city rather than sort of beeline off in one direction. But at the end of the day, as long as you're sort of moving towards discoveries, I think that's fine. But in that sort of spirit, we'll move a little bit over this way just to see what's around us, to try and plan out where we'll put our next settlement. We can grow again, and we'll grow to the wine. So we've we found a hostile unit here. This is a scout from a nearby independent power. If you've played previous Civ games, independent powers are a bit like barbarians, but mixed with city-states. So in the early game, they can be either hostile or neutral towards you. In this case, retinue is hostile towards us. And so these are going to function essentially like barbarians. They all attack us on sight. Now that our 2 scouts are done, we have a choice here. We can either start building a granary, which will be our first building, which you don't need any tech to unlock a granary. It's available right from the start. Or we can keep building scouts and warriors. Now, a warrior here wouldn't be the worst idea. We have 2 scouts out, going, seeing what's around us, which is a pretty good amount. Now, I love to get 3 scouts up. I really, really do prefer to do that. But I think a warrior here wouldn't go astray. Now, the other thing we've got to consider is that in 1 turn, we'll finish animal husbandry. This will give us the saw pit. And the saw pit is going to be a lot more valuable to build than the granary. Now, the granary will give us a fair bit of food because we are Pachacudi. And he makes all of his buildings have a food adjacency. You can see here, so 2 food on a tile that doesn't have a mountain nearby, 3 food next to this 1 volcano, and then 4 food over here where there's 2 mountains. But the granary is not that important. Food isn't that important early game, not compared to production. So what we're going to do is put 1 turn into this warrior, and we'll hit next turn. There's animal husbandry. And I think it's worth it here to cancel this move. Now, in terms of where we're going to put this, this is the obvious position because it gives us the most yields right now. But this is going to take a pretty decent mountain spot from the capital for the rest of the age, and indeed the rest of the game from this city. Warehouse buildings, you can see they have the ageless tag, which means they never go away. Now, as of the Test of Time update, 2026, April, you cannot move these, and there's no way to move warehouse buildings once you place them for the rest of the game. So you got to be very careful where you place these. So putting it here is really good right now in the early game, but all in all, 2 food is not worth sacrificing quite a decent spot for this. So I think it's worth putting it here. Now, it's next to the volcano, granted, but I think that's fine. Warehouse buildings are quite cheap to repair. Okay, we've got a wonder nearby us, so this is quite rare. So we've got a natural wonder. These are, I guess, special tiles in the game that spawn randomly around the map, based on real life natural wonders, and they give you all sorts of bonuses. Very, very, very powerful bonuses usually. In this case, we have Iguazu Falls. I'm sure I've pronounced that correctly. Plus your production on adjacent districts, and it grants fresh water. So this will be a pretty decent spot to settle. Hopefully there's some mountains nearby. Don't see any mountains nearby. And we have another city-state down here, Mochi, and they appear to be friendly to us, so that's good. Really, really good. We're going to move 1 tile down here and then do a search. Okay, we have Machu here. Another natural wonder. This is a really insane start, all things considered. We have a lot of discoveries around here too that we can grab, which is really, really good. Okay, well, we have our early game settle locations probably sorted for us, to be honest. Doubly good here because this is a wonder, a natural wonder mountain, I should say. So doubly good for us as Pachacudi of the Inca. Well, this is a really insane start, all things considered. But that's just the luck you can get when you're playing Civ. Keep moving down, and we'll go and grab this discovery next. I definitely should have moved here. So this is a good time to talk about terrain in Civ 7. So in general, the reason why you get scouts over warriors, despite the fact that they both have 2 movement, is that scouts ignore a lot of terrain. But what they can't ignore is walking over water. So walking through a river, for example, will always end a scout's movement. As well as we have here some cliffs. Now scouts, well, no unit by default can scale cliffs. So cliffs just straight up block your movement. So this is, a terrain elevation difference here. We have to walk around. So we should have ideally gone to this tile. That's fine. It'll set us back 1 turn from this discovery, but what can you do? Keep moving here and keep scouting around. There's really not many discoveries over on this side, but the important thing I'm doing here is scouting around this wonder. We're almost certainly going to settle here for our first settlement that we get out. The reason for that is because this is a production wonder. You can see here, these are 4 production, 2 culture tiles by default, and they also have the effect here for happiness on improvements on rough and mountainous terrain. This is a really, really good wonder, one of the best. It's up there with Mount Everest for the best natural wonders in the game, in my opinion. To start out with, Great Barrier Reef is really good too. So we're probably going to put our first settlement here. Well, we'll talk about it a bit more when we get to settling, but you generally really, really want your first settlement you get out after your capital to eventually grow into a city. And this is a really good spot to turn into a city. So we want to scout around here just to see what's going to be the best spot around this wonder to take advantage of it. Up here is looking not so good. There's just not many resources around. There are over here, but it's quite far from the wonder, so ideally we can find a better spot than that. Okay, we have another discovery here. Culture and food or science. I'm inclined to take the culture early game. Now, something else I'll talk about here while we have a moment. A bit more of an advanced tip. Every time you finish a building, so an urban building, I'm not sure if that's actually a term they use anymore, but every time you finish a building, you gain a population. So you can see here, we're going to go in 3 turns, we're going to grow from population 3 to population 4, and we're going to finish the building on that same turn. So we're going to go straight to population 5. Now what this means is that we can start building settlers. In Civ 7, you can't build settlers until you get to 5 population in a settlement. They don't use population anymore either, so you just need to get to population 5 and then you're good to go. What this means is that this building is kind of going to slingshot us up to population 5 quite quickly, a lot quicker than if we had grown there naturally, which is why I opted to go for the saw pit quite early, as well as all the yields it'll give us, mainly production. So in that sense, the food isn't quite as useful because it'll kind of offset this quite nice timing I've managed to achieve here. In saying that, the culture is so good early game, I'm going to take it anyway. And that culture was enough to get us to our first civic. So a few things going on here. New civics tree is unlocked, the antiquity test of time, which is brand new to this update. But first, let's look at our new growth event. Now, in terms of where to grow, we have some pretty bad options, all things considered. Again, our start isn't great. Not many good resources around, but I can see a silver over here. Now, we have a saw pit coming up, so we want to try and prioritize vegetated tiles where we can, so that are going to be improved by the woodcutter. I'm not sure if I really went through it before, but the saw pit, what it does is, like the granary, has a similar effect, like all warehouse puddings do. +1 production as a default, that's its base yield over here. In fact, I can inspect this now, so I can hover over it, thanks to the new nested tooltip system. +1 production by default, and +1 on the following improvements in this settlement: camps and woodcutters. So that's the improvements we want to be prioritizing where we can. In saying that, the only other good resource around us that we really want to try and focus early game is this silver. Now, we actually have quite a nice benefit here playing as Pachacudi, is that we can grow over this mountain to the silver, so we won't have to wait as long, whereas other civs would have to go all the way around like this. We can go this way, which is quite good. It won't actually save us much time, but the mountains are actually decent to work as well. You know, 1 food, 2 production, that's a pretty decent base yield, all things considered. In saying that, do we want to do that? I think we do. If we improve this woodcutter, for example, that'll be a 1 food, 2 production, 1 science tile when this saw pit's done. These mountains are almost just as good as that on their own. So, although it's a little bit grim right now to take mountain tiles this early game with no resources, I think getting towards this silver is probably what we want to be doing, considering it's really the only resource in range that we care about. So there's an argument for taking the clay pit, but the production right now is so much better, and we won't get the upgrade for the clay pit for quite a while, which in this case is pottery. We probably won't research this for a little bit. So let's work this mountain. A bit of a weird start in the capital, but we do have some absolutely banging cities coming up after this with these 2 natural wonders that are flanking us here. Okay, so now we have the civic tree, which is very similar to the tech tree. It's identical, really, but different bonuses, different effects, and this one's progressed with your culture stat instead of your science. We also have the antiquity test of time here because we're playing a civ outside of the apex age, so the Incans are an exploration age civ, but we're playing them in antiquity. So we have a slightly different tech tree, or a slightly different civic tree to normal, rather than having your own, you know, Incan civics here. We have a test of time, and there's a lot I could talk about in here. But for this, the purpose of this video, we won't worry too much about it right now. It could probably be its own video, everything that's going on here, particularly syncretism, which is a whole new system being introduced with the update, but we won't worry about it. All we'll look at is our choices right now, which are to research the Incan Origins Civic, which gives us a tradition that food buildings receive an adjacency from mountains, and rough terrain doesn't end movement, as well as a tradition slot. It's actually a pretty decent civic, all things considered. First time playing the Incans in this update. It's actually not bad. However, discipline, I quite like going for discipline first. We get a card here that's really, really important called Survey. So you can plug that into your government, which we'll look at in a second. That gives your scouts +1 movement and +1 sight. Really, really good in the early game. +1 sight. It's hard to overstate just how good +1 sight is. It's a shame that we don't have any movement remaining, but if you think about it, we can see, 2 tiles away, right, by default. Now, if you draw a 2-tile away circle around this unit, it's probably about 20 tiles you can see, whereas having +1 sight increases the ring to, 3 tiles wide, which is exponentially better than 2. It's not just, +1 sight, it's a lot better. Going from 3 to 4 is even more insane, etc., etc. So +1 sight is massive, particularly with this search ability. You can end up seeing discoveries that are 8 tiles away from the scout, which is absolutely crazy. So as well as the movement, this is just a really, really good card to plug in early game. So I'm a big fan of going for discipline early. It does also unlock a commander few, which is a whole new system introduced in Civ 7 that helps you manage your military units. This is how you start earning experience towards, experience from military combat, I should say. So quite good to get early game. Helps with the aggressive independent powers that you might come up against. Mysticism is the other main option. It allows you to start founding your religion, so you get your pantheon here, which can be good because the pantheons are competitive. So it's a race to get all the different pantheons. But I think the value you gain from survey and the information you get from plugging this in early game is way too valuable. Whereas a lot of the pantheons, you can usually make a lot of them work. Unless there's one you really, really want, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, so because we finished our first civic, we can also now choose a government. 3 options here, classical republic, despotism, or oligarchy. The effects kind of speak for themselves, all things considered. Now, Pachacuti here has a really, really strong ability that cities gain a bonus to production equal to 10% of that city's food. So food is a really high priority for us, so oligarchy is quite an easy choice. Now, you don't just get these effects by default. We'll select oligarchy here and see what it shows, see what it does for us. If we ever take an overview of our government, when we get to a celebration, which we get from accruing happiness, you can see we'll get a celebration in 13 turns if we continue earning 10 happiness per turn. So we're about 130 happiness away from an next celebration. Only then do you get to choose one of these effects for the next celebration. The next 10 turns is how long they last by default, which would be food or 30% production towards buildings. Both these effects are really good. However, I'd probably be opting for the food one, because food you get to, in essence, keep permanently. It's, all the food you gain never goes away. So it's quite good, particularly on Pachacuti, who gets, really production from this as well as the food. Now we have our policies. So again, first government here, we get to plug in one of these policies. Tool making and charismatic leader are our 2 choices. Production and science of the palace, or +2 culture on the palace. I'm generally going to lean towards the culture. Again, it gets us to survey faster, which is just so valuable. I can't overstate how good I think survey is in the early game. So there you go. Now we are getting 12 culture instead of 10. We'll hit next turn. Okay, we'll keep moving our scouts around. Can't really see very far, so we'll do a search. And we've met a new civilization. And, okay, when he's done talking, we've got 3 options here when you meet someone in Civ 7. A friendly greeting, a neutral greeting, or a hostile greeting. And, I mean, pretty self-explanatory what these do. They spend influence, which is pretty similar to diplomatic favor if you played Civ 6. It's essentially what we use to manage our relationships with other people or carry out various diplomatic actions throughout the game. I think in most cases, unless you're quite concerned about early game aggression, or you're trying to become the early game aggression, you could do a hostile greeting. I think neutral greeting is perfectly fine for most scenarios. We don't really have a strat here that particularly values diplomacy or trying to get allies in the early game, for example. So I'm very happy to do neutral greetings and just keep things pretty neutral. But you can see here we have gained a little bit of a positive relationship with Ashoka here from our shared government. So we've both taken oligarchy, so it's quite good. Immediately, he's decided to do a diplomatic action with us here to start a local festival together. Similar options, we can support it. We spend a bit of influence here, 60 influence, and we'll both get +3 happiness in our cities. I can just accept it. I'll get +2 influence, but he'll get +2 happiness. That's for free. This one's really good. This particular endeavor is quite good to do early game. Just accept it, because influence is a lot more valuable than happiness in the super early game here. Or we can reject it, which will again worsen our relationship, and he gets nothing from this. We're going to accept it. You can see we'll now go up to 12 influence. It's really, really good for us that he's going to be friendly. Now, our sword bit's finished, which means now we can see we have a new unit here, as well as the slinger from finishing animal husbandry. We now have the settler, and the settler allows us to found new towns. Now, notably, the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you would see that this says towns, not cities. So these are slightly different concepts in Civ 7. So a town is a settlement that has not been upgraded to a city, and they convert all their production into gold, but they don't have a production queue. So there you go. You have to pay gold to upgrade towns into a city, but we'll talk about that later, or potentially in a next episode. For now, getting settlers out early game is one of the most important things you want to be doing. I would recommend getting, at least one, but ideally 2 out as soon as you get to population 5. We don't want to get too many more for the time being. We have a settlement limit of 3 right now, and going over that incurs some happiness penalties. So we don't want to just go settlement crazy. But either way, we'll get these 2 on the move, and we'll definitely be moving them towards these natural wonders. It's going to make for a really good start for us. Another discovery here, we can get food or gold. Now, again, food is very quickly dwindling in value for me now that we're at population 5. Gold is very, very flexible. Gold allows you to purchase units, purchase buildings. That's really, really flexible in terms of its power. Now, it's 4 turns to get up there, 4 turns to get up here. Both of these are going to be worth going for eventually, but it looks like Ashoka is going to beat us to this one. So I think we'll just kind of concede this discovery up here, and we'll get this one down here that's probably likely to be guaranteed. We also know there's a friendly city-state sort of in this area, so it's a bit safer to explore. And what we're going to do here is move back towards this mountain. So again, I'm hoping there's a decent spot around this area to settle, but it's looking like we might have found the opposite of a decent spot. Potentially we have a city-state around here, the hostile one. You've also met Lakshmi Bai. So, fantastic outfit. We won't listen to her speech. We'll skip through that. She's playing the Mughals. That's a modern age Civ in antiquity. Very cool to see. So move over here. Again, we're 2 tiles away. So instead of moving closer to that, we'll do a search. You can see we found a discovery down here that's on the water, which we won't be able to get until we research sailing. And yet, rightly so. So good call moving down here. Important to be aware of your opponents and what they're doing. Ashoka did end up beating us to this discovery. So if we had gone all the way up here to try and get it, we would have missed it by 1 turn, and then we, potentially could have missed this one as well. Either way, it would have been a lot slower getting here. So we can get +1 happiness at the expense of getting no science for 2 turns, which I think is a pretty big ask. Or we can just get 45 culture. Early game culture, love to see it. Happy to take that. Now we need to move away from this slinger. What we can do here is move into this vegetation. And because we have a scout, we can keep moving. We found our first very angry independent power camp here. Now this slinger won't be able to attack me because the best he can do is move here. And although he has 2 range on the slinger, he can't actually see through this vegetated terrain. So this scout will be safe here to escape up to the north. What I am seeing though is a pretty average sort of area around here. You can see he moved into the vegetation, he got hit because he's probably standing right here. In terms of a settlement over here, I mean, we'll wait till the settler actually, well, he's here now. Okay, let's decide on a settlement. Now, why am I focusing on this one instead of this wonder over here? This one's just not as good, I would say. It takes a while for this bonus to come online, so +2 production on adjacent districts. It'll probably be a fair while before we turn it into a city and can start building districts quite easily over here. Whereas this one, I mean, it will also be a while till we make it into a city, but it's going to start earning a ton of gold for us. Again, keep in mind that towns convert all of their production into gold. So each of these tiles, for the time being, may as well say 4 gold, 2 culture. Really, really strong, and we can grow to these quite quickly. And it's mountain terrain, so again, we'll get bonus food on this from our Civ ability. So this is going to be a much better settle overall. You can see as well, I mean, this is a 1-tile wonder that gives 4 food, 2 happiness. This is 4 culture, 4 production, 2 culture. Much better yields, and there's 3 tiles. It's a bigger wonder, so this is just a much better spot. Now we do have a lot of fresh water around here, which is good. You always want to be sailing on fresh water where you can, otherwise you get a -5 happiness penalty on that settlement. But again, there's actually very, very few resources around here that we want to see. So the best we can do is probably get these rubies. So potentially settling here or here. Saving these sort of corner spots. Well, there's actually only one. But saving these corner spots here where you can get 2 tiles of the natural wonder. So a culture building here is going to pop off massively. I'll tell you that for free right now. So yeah, this spot's looking likely. So we'll start moving this guy over this way. It's a shame that, to be honest, like we've got a navigable river taking up all these tiles to the south and a mountain like on either side of it. This wonder is phenomenal, and I'm still very happy to see it. But all things considered, it's still not an outstanding settlement. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good. I'm not complaining. Definitely not complaining about this start. So you can see this is probably Mochi, probably the friendly city-state. Yep, sure is. So we have a few options we can do in terms of interacting with them, and I'll talk about this on this next turn. And there's Discipline, by the way. So let's actually go ahead and I think I'm happy to take that out. We'll plug in Survey for the time being. Yeah, I think that's fine. Again, early game scouting is really good. So even if we take this out soon enough, I think I'm happy to sacrifice the culture for the time being. In terms of our next civic after this, again, I don't think this is worth going for quite yet. Once we spread out a bit more and we can utilize mountains more, we will consider the Incan Origin civic. But for now, let's start moving towards our Pantheon. That'll take 15 turns, so quite a way away. And let's move our scout down here. We'll just do a quick search as well. Because we now have this extra vision, you can see just how far we can spot discovery. So again, this was 8 tiles away. The scout over here did a search and found this camp next to Retinue, which is insane. It appears to be the only discovery that's really around as well. I mean, there's quite a few down here actually. So we'll keep going south, I think. This is going to be quite difficult to get because it's right next to the camp for now. Again, hostile city center here, essentially. And we have our first commander. There's going to be a lot to talk about on this turn. So these are independent powers. We can interact with these, and we have one action that we can do for now, which is to befriend them. Befriend independent here. 170 influence, which is a pretty steep cost, but very valuable. Now, if we try to start befriending Retinue, who are currently hostile towards us, it'll take 30 turns, and you'll see this on the UI once I sort of do it. In fact, I'll start progressing Mochi, because they're friendly towards us. I think that's fair. Yeah. We'll start befriending Mochi. You can see here, it'll take 15 turns because we start halfway because they're already friendly towards us. We start at this point here where they're friendly. It only takes 15 turns to reach the state where they become our suzerain. So at 8 turns, they'll give us a gift. For Mochi, they are a diplomatic power, so they'll give us happiness. In 15 turns, this will essentially get claimed as our city-state. So we'll see vision from all their units, all the tiles they've discovered will be revealed to us, and we'll get to choose a suzerain effect as well. If we tried to befriend Retinue, we wouldn't start at this friendly stage, so we'd start back here, and it would take 30 turns to befriend them up to a city-state. It's quite a long process, and it's a lot of early game investment into your influence for a payoff that you won't see anything for 30 turns. Now, the benefit of befriending Retinue, despite them being hostile, is that after 15 turns, well, they'll become friendly with us. So we won't have to worry about them trying to attack our units as we get close. It would make it a lot easier for us to get this tent camp here, for example, this discovery. And we just won't have to worry about them, making a military early game to defend from their attacks. However, because we've already got our commander out, we've just finished, our policy down here, discipline. We get a free commander, which is going to start earning experience for us for nearby battles. I don't think it'll be too much of an impetus on our early game to go down here and potentially look at clearing this camp. Now, when you clear a camp, you get yields based on the type of city-state it was. So again, Mochi, I believe, would give happiness if we cleared it, like a big boost of happiness. Retinue, as a military city-state, is going to give production. And again, early game production is a massive, massive benefit to us. So investing a little bit in some units will essentially be able to refund that production straight back to us afterwards. And we'll get a bunch of experience on our commander. It's just a win-win all around. So I think taking retinue early game is definitely the right move. I think in general, if you do see a hostile city-state that's a military independent power, I'm going to use the term city-state independent power interchangeably. Only independent power is correct, so apologies for that, but it's a habit. Taking these out early game is really, really good because the production burst is so good. Anyway, we have our commander. So as I said, this guy soaks up experience from nearby battles. Instead of individual units earning experience and promotions, in Civ 7 only the commander does. It's a really fantastic system, actually. I was a bit skeptical at first, but I've grown to love it, and the amount of depth this adds to combat is phenomenal. I should note that the models here on the commander are also fantastic. So they're different for each culture, and I really, really like the Incan one, the mine one. It's fantastic. So these guys carry this commander around on a chair. Anyway, always worth zooming in on Civ 7 when you have a chance. It's a really, really stunning game. But this guy can't fight on his own, so he has no combat abilities just on his own. So we're just going to move him one tile to the left here. So there's a very small chance this volcano erupts and kills all the units around it. So we'll move. Well, I mean, it's not my first rodeo, guys. So this volcano erupted. Luckily, both our settler and our commander both moved away that turn. That would have been absolutely devastating if they died. Now, chances are they probably wouldn't have died. They probably would have just got damaged, but still. That was really good timing to illustrate my point. Now, unfortunately, one of our woodcutters here did get damaged by the eruption. So we're going to just pay the gold to repair that. That's fine. You can see we've got our population back, so we can actually get back to producing these settlers. I don't think the settler production got interrupted by the volcano, but it certainly looks like it took a hit. I'm not actually too sure how that works, but we're back to producing settlers anyways. That's why it's so important to get that 5 population back as quick as we can. And we're just going to set this commander down here to alert. So he's just going to basically not require an action until a unit comes nearby, and then it'll wake up and it'll give us the option. It's just a way to reduce our micro. For the time being, you get this fantastic animation of the commander standing around a table, discussing war plans with his fellow soldiers here. Interestingly, if you have units packed into the commander, that'll determine who he's talking to and all sorts of things like that. It's quite cool. Really great attention to detail on the units in this game. It's one of the best parts for sure. Keep moving south here. So we've run into a unit. So getting this to scurry down here is pretty unlikely unless he moves out of the way. Of course he doesn't, so we have to retreat. Scouts have no way to fight back in this game. It looks like we met someone new, but we'll grow first. And again, I think it's fine. I know this looks tempting up here to grab this, and to be fair, now that I'm here, I'm pretty tempted to do the same. But I do really want this silver. So it gives +1 gold and +1 food in all settlements, which is quite good. We also only have the 1 settlement for now, so is it worth sacrificing +1 science and +1 happiness? I think, okay. Noting this volcano has erupted, what it's done, although it did damage one of our buildings, which is a bit unfortunate, it has given fertility to this tile. So this is now a 2 food, 2 production, 1 science, 2 happiness tile. I think this woodcutter is too good to pass up. Again, I would definitely be going towards the silver when I can, but in the early game, stuff like this is just so valuable. We've met Edward Teach here. He's just phenomenal as a leader. Love the model, love the voice. It's awesome. Okay. Yeah, play the side you're given. So our plan was to go down towards the silver, but now that we've got this fantastic tile that's been fertilized by the volcano going off, change your tack, change your plan. Nothing wrong with that. The worst thing you can do is stick to a plan that's no longer the best one. So let's do another search here. Again, more discoveries up here, but sort of guarded by hostile city-states. So masonry is done there, which is really good. This is going to give us a fantastic monument spot down here. Potentially this one as well, but we'll have to come to that decision when we get there. For now, let's just finish our settlers. Again, this commander's not going to wake up because the scout poses no threat to him, so it's not going to break his his alert rather state. Masonry's done now. I think it's fair enough. We could start working towards pottery, which I've just noticed actually gives you +1 production on clay pits, as well as the brickyard, which also gives it additional +1 production. So clay pits can actually be pretty good as it turns out. I thought they'd removed all of these effects, but it's like pottery managed to retain its passive bonus. Now, we really can't go up that way because of that slinger, so we're going to move down, just sort of scout around. And this looks like a very mountainous region, which could be a really good settle for us as a 4th or a 5th settlement, potentially. I've just noticed we're going to make 3. That's what happened with my settlers, by the way. I've just noticed we were going to make 3. So let's stop it at 2. Let's start working towards our monument now. And here's where we're going to make a bit of a toss-up. So we can get rid of this. We can overbuild this woodcutter here, which will allow us to put this woodcutter somewhere else in our empire. So it's fine. Doesn't really matter too much. For quite a good culture spot. Now, this is a really good production tile as well, though. So I think even though this is really quite good, it's just too valuable right now to give up. So even though this is a slightly worse spot, I think this is correct. Plus, it's really not that big of a deal to have to repair, this woodcutter every time the volcano goes off. But having to repair the monument every time it gets damaged would be a bit of a drain on our gold throughout the game. So I think this spot right here is going to be best because it's next to 2 mountains, which is what you want for cultural buildings. Now, it's worth discussing, why is this one so good? Why are we getting science from this monument? Why are we getting, 5 culture when there's only 1 volcano nearby? That is because there's a somewhat hidden mechanic in Civ 7. Completing a district or a quarter, which is when you have 2 current age buildings around your palace here, your capital, gives you +1 science and +1 culture. So if I filled up this with, even a granary, for example, you can see it gives the granary effect of +3 food, and then also +1 science, +1 culture. So you always want to be trying to fill up these districts as quick as you can. However, this monument is too good. It's a lot better, and we're going to get this effect anyway from something worse, like a granary we can put here that doesn't really rely on adjacencies. But this monument is too good right now, I think, to get. So let's do that. We have our second settler here. Let's move him towards this wonder over here. Again, kind of a weird situation here where these are really great wonders to get early game, but the land around it isn't actually that fantastic, all things considered. Now, at least this one over here, I'm going to scout a little bit with my commander. Actually, I probably should have been doing that from the start. There are some mounds over here that we can make use of, so this spot here, or potentially this spot, looks pretty good. I think hedging our bets here between getting the wonder, leaving the space around it open for this +2 production on adjacent districts bonus, and being close to these mountains is a really good bet. So this spot over here is looking pretty good. I will tentatively move him that way, but depends what our commander sees next turn as well. And here's our first celebration. So this is We Love the Council Day for Oligarchy. Again, we can make one of these choices between food or production. Again, I would really recommend on Pachacuti here. The food is going to be excellent. In general, if you don't know what to pick, take Oligarchy and pick the food bonus. It's just generally really, really good to grow your empire in the early game. Now we have an extra slot. Every time you enter a celebration, so every time you start that celebration on that one turn, you get an extra policy slot, or an extra, policy slot, I should say. There's a slight difference now between traditions and policies, but we won't worry too much about that for now. So Charismatic is plugged in again. We're up to 17 culture. And our settler over here has reached his destination. Now, what I'm thinking is that this is going to be a decent city. But over here is probably going to just be a town to grab all these resources. It's not too heavy on production over here, really. So think I'm happy with this being a town. It just means that this city, or this city here should really leave a little bit of room. So you can't settle within 3 tiles of another settlement. Independent powers count towards that, by the way. So you can see I can't settle on these tiles down here because they're red. So let's leave 1, 2, 3. We're probably going to settle here, so there's plenty of room, really. Let's move down this way. This leaves this spot here and this spot here open for cultural buildings. You can see they both have really good adjacencies for mountains. And we'll keep moving down this way. Move on to this river so we don't get our movement stuck next turn. Okay, turn 24. Let's move up with this commander again. Don't love scouting with the commander, but it's not the end of the world. And I think this spot is looking really solid. It looks like there's a friendly city-state up here, though, which... Let's see if we can't spot them out. Okay, so we're going to run into a mechanic here that's quite... it's going to be a bit of a bother to us. So what we're going to do here is actually settle over here. So Babylon is fantastic to meet them early game. A friendly city-state nearby. Science one as well, which is really great. Because we're probably going to be lacking in science this game. So any science we can get is really valuable. But if you settle within 5 tiles of another independent power from their, city center here, they'll actually turn hostile unless you're befriending them. But I don't think about sort of 10 turns to start befriending them. That'll delay our settlement by a long time, and it's not going to be worth the tempo loss from that, even though it would be great probably to settle 1 tile up. It's not that big of a deal, all things considered. So again, let's change our plan. Let's settle here. That gives us a little bit more breathing room from Babylon, and they won't become hostile towards us when we settle. Otherwise, they'll send a really big party, a raiding party towards us. All these units will start attacking my scout. It's going to inhibit our movement a lot in the early game. So again, definitely worth just moving that city down 1 tile to keep them nice and happy. A second settlement's up, and you can see we automatically get a road built towards capital because it's within 10 tiles. Or more accurately, it's within our trade route range, which by default is 10 tiles. We can grow immediately, and although we would love to grab these rubies one day, these mountain tiles are absolutely extraordinary for us. So 1 food, 5 production, and 2 culture. May as well say 5 gold. This is really, really, really good for us, so let's grab that. We'll keep on scouting down here. We might be able to, scout around it. Okay, we have a 4th wonder down here. This is one of the new ones as well. I've never seen this one before. We have a 3rd natural wonder quite close to us. I mean, this guy's probably going to want it. Blackbeard would love to grab this one, I'm sure. It's on the coast as well, next to Longcheng. Quite an extraordinary start, this one. It's a lot of natural wonders, and it's a small map as well. So they're quite localized around us, if I'm being honest here. Let's move our commander back, and we'll settle here. Move up a bit and scout, see what's around Babylon. It looks fine to me. Now, I could potentially sneak by, and I think I'm going to have a crack. These, the unit that's in the independent power, even if they're hostile, usually the one in the city center won't attack you if you're just moving past them. So I feel relatively safe to scoot past him here. We have a narrative choice. That is from Moche, who's now become, friendly enough with us. We've now reached this point where they'll give us a gift, so we got some happiness there, which is really nice. Any excess happiness you get while you're celebrating goes into the next celebration, so it starts stacking up. So excess happiness is not useless when you're celebrating. We can put down our settlement here. So you can see, because we were 6 tiles away, Babylon doesn't mind. Now, it looks pretty close to our capital, and it is. But being nearby, having all your stuff sort of close together in Civ 7 isn't that big of a deal. A bit like Civ 7, a bit like Civ 6 rather. It's really not the end of the world to have them this close. You can always shift tiles around with the new Test of Time update at least, unimproved ones, but realistically, you're never going to work every tile in a city, all 3 tiles away, this whole radius. So I don't really mind setting them that close. But we are going to start working our way towards this wonder. 4 food, 2 happiness is just a pretty decent tile, so let's move towards that. And you know what? We'll move the commander in here just so he's nice and safe. And we'll hit next turn. Okay, we've got a slinger over this way, so this guy kind of has to abort his mission to the east, which would have been great to grab this discovery. It was over here somewhere. Looks like it's been taken actually, so no real reason to go over this way anymore. It would be great to see what's over there, but that's fine. Again, just trying to scout over people's borders as well. Having vision of people's cities and what they're building is really, really valuable, particularly when it comes to wonders. Like the Sharakin here. So safe to say I probably won't be getting this wonder anyway, but I probably shouldn't try now either, considering he's got a bit of a head start. So again, really, really valuable to go up to people's borders, just like this. Do a search, and now I can kind of see everything he's building. Gives me a bit of a heads up if he starts building an army as well. I can see he's not building buildings, then he might be building units. So keep that in mind. We'll go down here, do another search just to see sort of what's on this coastline. Hit next turn. We got mysticism, and now a whole bunch of stuff's gonna happen. Pottery is unlocked as well, so let's just go ahead and let's look at irrigation. There's a lot of really good settlement spots around, so let's go for the extra settlement limit here. +1 you can see here from irrigation. Let's grab that. We also have a narrative choice here. This is a quest we've unlocked as a part of picking Pachacuti here. We've got the Trainer Merchant, which will continue this quest and give us 100 happiness. Train 3 Infantry, which gives us some culture, or we can just take science straight up. I think considering we're going to go for this military city-state down here, let's take the infantry. Hit the culture quest. Pick a new civic as well. Code of Laws will allow us to start trading, and it'll give us another tradition slot, as well as a few other things here, which will be quite good. Again, I think we can still hold off on this Incan Origins until we really start to get going, so let's go for Code of Laws, just so we can start trading with anyone around us. Our trade routes right now don't look too great, but as people grow to more resources, they'll get better. Particularly Blackbeard down here has got some pretty good resources I would love to get. And we can choose that Pantheon. So, as we said before, it's first come, first serve on these. Now, in terms of what we want this game, we haven't... Usually they're sort of focused around improvements. Growth rate would be good, but it doesn't actually give food. Pachacuti's ability only works on food, not growth rate, so keep that in mind. Some Goddess the Hardest would be more applicable for us. But food isn't even really that good. Even on us, it's not that great. God of the Sun is a generally good fallback option. It just gives one of pretty much every yield, which is decent. But in terms of what we're going to pick here, I think something like Earth Goddess seems like a sort of a natural fit. +1 happiness adjacency on the altar for mountains and natural wonders. That is going to be a lot of happiness for us, but happiness just isn't that valuable. Even in the early game, even in the late game, it really doesn't scale very well. So I don't think we're too concerned about that. I think we could just go for something here that's generally decent, which is, again, much like God of the Sun. +2 influence on the altar is just generally okay. We've got a few city-states around us as well that we probably wouldn't mind trying to befriend. As well as we've met a lot of neighbors, and they're all relatively close. And considering we're going to be settling quite a bit around us, things are going to start to get a bit prickly on the diplomatic side. So let's take City Patron Goddess. You'll see now, if we go to build our altar, it'll give +2 influence wherever we build it, which is quite good. And speaking of, we can produce something new here. So you can see Wonders to Sharakin. Definitely don't want to be going for that. In 13 turns, we'll have another settlement limit, so we could think about getting another settler down. But I think for now, let's get a brickyard down here, because we'll probably expand to some of these rough tiles and the clay pit tiles. And most importantly, this finishes this quarter next to our palace. So we get this additional +1 culture, +1 science, which is really, really good. So completing these warehouse buildings, they're really cheap. Completing them as quick as you can to get that palace bonus up is really, really valuable. Okay, we can choose our government, so we can reshuffle our policies again. Now, survey probably hasn't outstayed its use. I think I'd like to keep that plugged in for now still. No, I think we can plug that out. We'll take priesthood, +2 gold in all settlements. That's +6 gold total, because we have 3 settlements. Now, something I could have done actually was probably move before before I took that card out, we still get to keep 3 movement, but we'll lose the sight. So probably should have moved our scouts and then changed that policy over, but that's very minor. And we'll hit next turn here. And just for dramatic effect, we'll finish this brickyard with gold, so we'll just purchase it outright. And we'll start working on our altar, which could potentially go here. Again, really good sort of early game move to finish it quite quick. And considering we can overbuild this later anyway, that's fine. We'll start doing that. And this is turn 30, so we'll move our scouts one more time. Probably scout up and around this area. Eventually we'll get sailing and we can explore the coast. That's our empire on turn 30. So, 13 science, 27 culture. We've got our 3 settlements up. I mean, granted, this is a seriously above average start, so don't feel discouraged if yours don't look quite as good as this. But as Pachacuti, I mean, we got a reasonably, as expected monument. I think this could honestly be a lot better. I mean, if we started somewhere up here, if this volcano wasn't here, for example, this would be an exceptional spot for a monument. Down here is going to be an awesome spot for a monument as well. But all things considered, a really good start. And, if you follow these moves along and your start looks pretty similar to this, you've got a really good foundation. And if I was playing on deity right now, I'd absolutely continue this game. I think this would lead to a pretty cruisy one, all things considered. I mean, we've only got one neighbor down here to worry about at the south in terms of sort of taking over this whole area down here. Eventually, we'll start building some warriors to take out retinue as well. That should be a really good early game production boost. But yeah, that's the first 30 turns of Civ 7 on the new Test of Time update. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, there'll be a lot of videos coming out as Test of Time comes out. I'll be releasing, a lot more content. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see some of that. And yeah, otherwise, that's about it from me. Thank you, as always, to the channel members who support me month to month, which is Chris J, Int Paladin, Awesome Daisy, Chase Bandy, Tronty Wanty, and Shamal TV. Thank you very much for your support, as always. It's very much appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.